Hello.
Good morning po.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Mami Lisa.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, can you please turn your cam, please? Good
Morning,
morning.
Mr. Speaker. Sir Elvin.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning, Qatar. Good afternoon, Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, students of Ordaneta City University, welcome. Thank you for joining us in today's webinar. My name is Ashford Acera. I am the incumbent chairman for the Committee on Continuing Professional Advancement of the PICE Qatar, the leading provider of eVisma. Kidding aside. Today, we are presenting Construction Project Management. It's about time, presented by our very own engineer Elvin Pahutagana. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, you may type them in the Q&A chat box. Yeah, I'll bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for the question and answer after the session. To start with, let's pause for a short prayer to be led by our chairman from the Committee on Ways and Means and our BOD engineer Melissa Ortigera.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Ashford. Welcome, everyone. Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Almighty and loving Father, you have showered us with so much blessings. We thank you that you promise to be with us always. Today, we give our hearts, our minds, and our lives. Come speak your words of life into our blessings. We pray that you would deepen our comprehension, broaden our thinking, and transform our understanding of what we are about to study. You are our wise counselor, our perfect teacher, and our faithful friend. We humbly ask you to shower our speaker today for your greatest inspiration and guidance, so that he may share the most of his knowledge, heart, and soul to his respective topic. May we also absorb the invaluable knowledge and experience and put it into practice that we may learn today. Amen. Thank you, sir. Let's go back to Sir Ashford.
Thank you, Engineer Melissa. Okay, for our welcome remarks, may I please call on our President of the Philippines Institute of Civil Engineers, Qatar chapter, Engineer Mark Anthony Abendan.
Am I audible, Chairman?
Yes.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of BIC Qatar chapter, it is with grateful heart that we welcome all of you for today's webinar about construction project management, as requested by the Ordaneta City University through its coordinator, Engineer Russell Flores, an active BIC Qatar member and previous board of director as well, and is currently in the Philippines. My sincere thanks to UCU through the leadership of Dean Engineer Lorena Angulo and Head of Civil Engineering and Architecture Department, Engineer Leo Gerardo Rojas, for trusting PICE Qatar to deliver quality education to your support to your graduating students. As the same we are providing to various universities in the Philippines under PICE eVisma program through our seasoned and caliber volunteer mentors that specializes in structural engineering, project management, and construction engineering, and many more. Moreover, I would like also to extend a big thank you to each and everyone present here joining our event, and to all the professors, university students, guests, PICE Qatar members, and of course, the facilitating team Committee on Continuing Professional Advancement, headed by Chairman Engineer Ashford Acera, and our resource speaker, Engineer, soon to be Dr. Elvin D. Fautagana. Thank you very much to all of you, beloved students, ladies and gentlemen, I truly hope that you will enjoy and learn a lot in today's technical webinar. Once again, thank you and welcome to our event. Over to you, Chairman.
Thank you for the very welcoming address, President Mark. At this moment, let us welcome and give the floor to our Dean of the Urdaneta City University. May I ask the participants if Engineer Lorena Angulo, is she around? I cannot search in the,
Chairman, wala sa panelist.
yeah. Well, yes po,
Hihirapan
pero hindi ko siya.
daw makapasok.
Hindi ko siya ma-search sa attendees din.
Nahihirapan daw makapasok from John Harold Flores. Maybe this is Russell, si Tukayo.
Anong pangalan po niya?
Check the chat box. Maybe she's using yung kay ano.
Hindi ko ma-search. Anyway,
Teka, si Russell, papasokin natin.
sige.
Ayun, nakita ko na. More promote to panelist. Dalawa, ang dami mong account.
Hindi ko ma-search si Ma'am Lorena.
Good afternoon po.
Oh, there you are.
Good afternoon po, sir. Good afternoon po.
John
sa
Harold
lahat.
Flores. Okay. Okay, let's welcome once again Engineer Lorena Angulo, MSME, for her opening remarks and word of encouragement. Welcome po, Madam.
Thank you po, sir. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. To the Institute of the Civil Engineers Qatar Chapter International Charter 1-03, to the COCPA Chairman, Engineer Osford O. Acera, to Engineer Hilario Amogis, to Engineer Melissa Ortiguera, COWME Chairman, BOD 2021, to Engineer Elvin D. Pahutagana, as well as Engineer Babylene Segovia, Engineer Rohel Banal, to the Head of the Civil Engineering of Urdaneta City University, Engineer Leo Gerardo Rojas, and to our one of our very enthusiastic faculty, Engineer Russell Flores, and to all my colleagues and students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I do believe that all of us are going through tough road, such as this pandemic, but being an engineer, learning must continue as tough as it should be able to withstand whatever loopholes and obstacles will come on our way. Today, the Urdaneta City University is very grateful for sharing with us your expertise in the field of civil engineering to this webinar entitled Construction Project Management. It's about time. With this, we are very grateful and God bless everyone. Hope that everyone will going to enjoy this wonderful day of learning. Thank you, everyone. That's all po, sir.
Thank you, Engineer Lorena. It was a pleasure hearing from the Dean of the Urdaneta City University. And now, without further ado, allow me to introduce our speaker for today's webinar. He is a registered civil engineer by the Philippine Professional Regulation Commission and the MMUP. It's in Qatar. He is a certified grade A civil engineer. An alumnus of Technological Institute of the Philippines, Manila. Also a graduate of the Philippine Christian University Graduate School of Business Management, Middle East, through EPM and Associates of Masters of Business and Administration, and a PhD candidate in Business Management, awarded with Leadership Medal. In 2015, he has completed the Consultants Toolkit training at the Harvard University in Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts, USA, and Cost Management course in 2013, accredited by the Franklin University, Columbus, Ohio, USA. He has more than 20 years of experience in the construction and contracting industry in Qatar and in the Philippines. Currently employed as a project manager, commercial and contracts manager at Al Huda Engineering Works, with extensive experience in managing multiple projects, proficient in multiple projects. Sorry, I lost. And proficient in management and commercial contracts and in procurement and tendering, and adept in evaluating and resolving technical matters relevant to the project. A member of the American Society of Civil Engineers, ASCE, a full member of Association for Project Management, an active regular member of the Association for the Advancement of Cost Engineers International. He is a past president of the Filipino Planning Engineers and a former Philippine Institutes of Civil Engineers Qatar Chapter Board of Director in 2016, 2018 to 2020. He is a FPEA Life member, a PIC Life member, and the Project Management and Construction Engineering specialist, and an ASEAN engineer, soon to be APEC engineer or APEC engineer. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Engineer Elvin D. Fahutagana.
Thank you, Chairman Oshford. Parang ako nawala rin dun sa
Na-
introduction. Anyway,
sa dami ng binasa ko eh.
just brief. Anyway, thank you so much for that overwhelming introduction, Chairman Oshford. Good morning, Philippines. Good afternoon, Philippines. Good morning, Qatar. I believe na meron tayong mga participants from Qatar. I'm looking to meet my half-brother, Russell Flores. Nasaan ba siya? Kasi magkamukha raw kami. Pag nakikita ako ng mga kulig ko rito sa Qatar, akala nila si Russell ako. So pag si Russell naman daw ang nakikita nila, ako raw yung si Russell. Anyway, let me share with you my presentation. Okay. Chairman, you can see now my presentation.
Yes,
Okay.
crystal clear.
So, thank you again, Chairman. So this is the cover page of my presentation. And allow me again, with your indulgence, to present my brief summary of qualifications. So, as Chairman Oshford said, I am a project management professional from PMI, and also awaiting conferment from the ASEAN Engineers Register, and also, God willing, APEC or APIC. I'm a fully member of the Association for Project Management and also PMI, Project Management Institute, and former president of the Filipino Planning Engineers Association. So moving on, before I proceed further, just a disclaimer for my presentation. The materials in this presentation and any comments or information provided by the presenter are for educational purposes only, and nothing conveyed or provided should be considered legal. All copyrights and trademarks of images and videos belong to their respective IP owners and are used under fair use for educational purposes. Effective construction project management requires effective planning, scheduling, and control. It needs a clear definitions of the project, sound approach to planning the project, select and use of appropriate scheduling techniques, and also constant monitoring that enables proactive control of the project and a sound basis of a good record keeping. To ensure the delivery of the project, that it is within budget, the required level of quality, scope, and most of all, to deliver the project on time. So that's why I have entitled this presentation, Construction Project Management, It's About Time. So this presentation actually is being prepared for Ordinata City University, young engineers, and of course for our fellow PICians here in Qatar. So this is the title of my presentation. So why construction project management? Probably there is no other discipline that is more difficult than construction project management. The general goal seems simple enough, no? Build a project based on the scope, of course on time, within budget, without compromising the quality standards. And of course, it should be in a safe environment. And these are called scope, triple constraint, or iron triangle. Chairman, nadidelay yung presentation ko. Please,
Yes, nadidelay ng konti. Pero okay lang.
okay. So, it is easy, no? Madali lang yung project construction management, di ba? Pero, can you believe na less than 20% most of the construction projects ay nami-meet itong requirements na to? Why? Simply because that construction project management is known for continual problems. Contractors have a continual record of poor performances. But over the last 20 years, construction project management has developed in knowledge, management, skills, and performance and quality. So today, many good contractors are already performing well, especially in time, budget, and quality with the help of the latest technologies. Something wrong. Whatever type of projects or kind of construction involves, stakeholders or key players are always there in a construction project. And who are they? First is the owner and the client, coming from the private, who owns a land or they are paying for the construction of the facility. They are able to accept or reject any bids or tender based on parameters including cost, quality, and the reputation of the company. And also the public. These are the owner in government agency, like they pays for facility. No, they are very strict in the method of soliciting tenders or bidding. They accept bids through writing and also other things like specifications. And the other one is the engineer. So who are this engineer or designer? Basically, they are the one who assist the owner in developing plan for facility. No? And also, they make sure it is structurally sound. They make sure that all systems, utilities, facilities are integrated into design. They are also responsible for applying for and obtaining all necessary permits, and then the project management. They act as owners, agents, and works with designers and contractors to ensure high quality and lower cost. Whereas the contractor, they own the contract. No, they have a direct contract with the client, but they have indirect relationship. No? And of course, they follow the project specification based on the contract, no, and the contracted price. So the contractor, they also do the subcontracting, no, and they also have the suppliers, they have the manufacturers, and also they have the sub-design consultant. Whereas owner and engineer, they have a direct relationship and they have also contract obligations. The relationship between the engineer and the designer, basically, there is a direct relationship, pero wala silang contract obligations. So there's a mutual cooperation when they are performing or executing a project. Now, in the contractors, so once he is awarded with a contract, nandyan yung subcontractors, nandyan yung design subconsultants, nandyan yung material supplier, and of course, equipment supplier. Whereas for the for the engineer and the designer, they have the design consultant, the project management, the supervising consultant, and also the quantity surveyor. Now, a stakeholder is anyone who has a vested interest in the project. So let us look at this stakeholder analysis. No? The owner or client, they want to maximize or they have the overall value, no, for the project. And they want na yung project na yon to be finished in fast way or in less time. And they want it also to be in a lesser cost, but a highest quality. No? However, yung contractor naman, it's different. He is thinking about, yung inisip niya ay magkaroon ng kita or profitability. And of course, pag nag-execute na siya ng project, mas gusto niya ng mas mahabang oras. While gusto niya ring erase yung price or to cut cost. And only he will just provide based on the specification what has been tendered or bid. While the engineer or the designer, basically they design and they want the aesthetic, you know, they always sides with the owner and they doesn't want to cut design. So once the architect or engineer provided their design, ayaw na nilang mag-deviate doon. No? And always they want the highest quality. Whereas we have another stakeholder, which is the authorities, and they think of life safety and only to comply with the codes. And it doesn't care about the time. No? And for the cost, it doesn't care as well. So they just want to meet the code compliance. Whereas the neighbors or other parties, no, they look at the project with the financial values and of course with the least interruption during the implementation of the project. And of course, they want the project to be completed as soon as possible para hindi naman sila naapektuhan during the project execution. Kasi kung mahaba yung execution ng project, so syempre, maiinis sila. And wala silang pakialam sa presyo ng mga projects. Of course, kahit mga meron lang sila, kapitbahay lang, or kahit sino, gusto nilang makita yung highest quality and ma-maximize yung values, no? So, does it surprise anyone why there are project disagreements, no? Because everyone seems to be pulling in different directions, no? One of the main reasons for the increase in alternative delivery methods to stop the confrontational approach and get the contractor, owner, and engineer, they are all working together with the same motives, no? So there also have been advances made in working together with regulatory agencies. So my topic will focus on time later on. So moving forward, construction projects work activity process. So I don't know if you can see this one. It seems that it is clear in my slide, but I have made another version of this. So this is the another version of the construction project works activity processes. It starts with, nagsisimula ito sa owner's conceptual phase. So you have there the product development, process development, feasibility study, project financing, site selection, and obtaining board approval. And then you have there the proposal phase, which is, this is the tendering or bidding stage, where you have to do the contracting plan, the preparation of requests for proposals, and then solicit proposals, evaluate proposals, and then you have to negotiate the contracts. And then you have there the project execution phase, wherein there's a design package, equipment procurement, construction contract, plant startup, project controls, and public relations. And then in the project controls functions, you have there the project management, planning and scheduling, cost estimating, budgeting and cost control, quality assurance and control, organizations and staffing, and then project reporting. Then you have in the engineering and design, process design package, piping design models, civil architectural and structural design. You have there as well the mechanical equipment, electrical design, instrumentation and control, general specification, field problem follow-up. So these are basically what is happening in the site, no? And then you have here the equipment procurement. Of course, you should have the bidders list, purchasing and expediting. You have to also implement the quality assurance, and you have to do the tracking for the shipping and traffic, subcontracts negotiation, and then the mechanical catalogs. This is required when you are already closing the project or handing over. Now for the construction contractor, there is a construction management or project management, then constructability analysis, pre-construction planning, temporary site facilities, equipment and small tools, subcontractors negotiation, contract administration, and then facility turnover. For the owner field report, these are things that you have to prepare. The quality assurance, you have the construction schedule, approve change order, approve contractor invoices, contract administration as well, and then the facility acceptance. Now moving up under the construction contractor, he has to do the field administration. There is a field accounting, payroll accounts, payable invoicing, field procurement, okay, personnel administration, recruiting and training, labor relations, site safety program, site security, subcontracts administration, and then risk management. Under field control group, you have the field scheduling group, field cost control group, quantity surveys, material control receiving, OSD and reports, and inventory control. You have also the field warehouse operations and then the quality control. While in field construction, there are area engineers or project engineers, craft superintendents. You have the general foreman, craft foreman, and labor, construction coordination, and then the heavy equipment pool operators, field fabrication shops, small tools and management. And of course, in the field engineering, this is during the implementation, you should have the site layout lines and grades, design document control, field changes, and many more. For the subcontractors operations, you have to have the contractor supervision. No? You have to monitor them, and then you have the labor tools and equipment. So all of this are part of the construction project's works or activity processes. Now, who does hold the responsibility of construction project management? Of course, the project manager has the primary responsibility of construction management. And the project manager prepare the planning of a particular construction job and overseeing its progress along the way. And of course, he is responsible for accomplishing the stated project's objectives. Now, he has also to create clear and attainable project objectives, building the project requirements, managing the constraints of the project management triangle, and to define the project, it is an interrelated set of activities that has a definite starting and ending point, and that results is a unique product or services. And then project management is a scientific way of planning, implementing, monitoring, and controlling the various aspects of a project, such as time, money, materials, manpower, and other services. So basically, managing the constraints of the project management triangle, which are cost, time, scope, and quality. So what is construction project management? So having said, we can now define construction project management. Construction project management is the overall planning, coordination, and control of a project from beginning to completion. And then it is aimed at meeting a client's requirement in order to produce a functionally and financially viable project. And also, management of construction projects requires knowledge of modern management principles as well as understanding of the design and construction process. So let me proceed with the planning and scheduling. So planning is a natural process. It is much more fun to do something. The nicest thing about not planning is that failure comes as complete surprise rather than being preceded by a period of worry and depression, from Sir John Harvey Jones. So when you have been involved sa isang project and you are in the complete surprise, magugulat ka na lang na, or you will realize na if the team involved had opted for the worry or depression, this would have prompted then action, and led to a more successful outcome. So kapag naplano mo ng maayos yan, mafu-foresee mo kung ano man yung magiging problema. So looking back with the involvement or my involvement in some successfully delivered projects, I outweigh that yung mga fail ko sa project experiences ko is more. So success usually comes down to a good definition, preparation, and planning from inception onwards. So for the planning and scheduling, this is the learning objectives. We will be able to explain the differences between planning and scheduling, describe the advantages and disadvantages of using bar charts for scheduling construction project, compare bar charts and precedence diagrams as used in the construction industry, outline the reasons for using planning and scheduling in construction. So what is planning? Owner wants their project completed within specified time, and also as per the budget without any constraint. So planning is the process of identifying the methods, resources, and activities necessary to accomplish the project's objectives. Planning is the activity of determining how raw materials and other resources are delivered into a desired outcome. It is also the process that will deliver a competitive edge to organizations competing to win contracts to deliver work. Planning can be, though, of us determining what is going to be done, how, where, and by whom. So in a construction, there are levels of planning, and these are the following. Level 1, planning without resources. And then level 2, this is used in tracking progress without resources. And then in the planning, there's a level 3, planning with resources. And then in the tracking, we called it level 4, tracking progress with resources. Kung lalong tumataas yung level ng mga planning, the amount of information required or to maintain the schedule will increase, and more importantly, your skills and knowledge in using the software will increase. So basically, scheduling requires knowledge also in using softwares. So what is scheduling? It is the process of converting a general or outline plan for a project into a time-based graphic presentation using information on available resources and time constraints. And then it is a management tool. It can be used to satisfy a number of objectives like coordination, analysis and forecasting, reporting against baseline. And then it is scheduling. The scheduling facilitates you to integrate the activities of the various projects or project participants, show the interface responsibilities, particularly with respect to timing, secure, record, and communicate commitment to tasks by the various contributors to the project effort, as well as identify the key activity sequence or the critical path, determining the length of the project. It also displays the departmental workloading and hence facilitate departmental planning. It also provides the basis for more detailed scheduling. Furthermore, it also enables analysis and forecasting. You can show priorities for procuring equipment, material, labor, and services, analyze complex work areas with many interrelated activities through network analysis. It also facilitates long-range planning and future resource allocation, measure progress, measure performance, maintain control over time and cost of the project, and then produce a cash flow forecast. It is used for scheduling, for reporting. It provides a visible summary of important or major activities. So when you have it, you will see that the reporting will have different bars and activities showing which one's delayed or not. Report plan the completion dates, report deviations from plan, provide an early warning system for delays, and then monitor cash flow, record actual dates for forecasting, for estimating on future projects. So here are the 3 basic steps to a project schedule. You have here to define the work and then schedule activities and also allocate resources. Now, let us go to the types of schedules. There are many ways of presenting similar information, each with different objectives. One is the bar chart, previously known as a Gantt chart. And then you have the milestone chart, and then you have the progress chart, the bar chart status report, and then the master schedule, line of balance, and several others. So this is the example of bar or Gantt chart. So it's like a graphical representation showing the horizontal bars against a time scale. You have there the vertical, the activities, the horizontal is the time. So they are in a summary of detailed levels. For the milestone chart, this is the example. It is a graphical representation showing the milestone dates. So you have the vertical for the activities and then the horizontal for the time. It also identifies key points in the project's lifespan. Bars are not necessarily visible. And then we have the progress bar chart. This is how it looks like for the progress bar chart. It is a graphical representation, shows progress relative to the plan. In this case, it is behind the schedule. If you look at the time now, there's a delay. And also, there's no indication of final completion. And this is the bar chart status report showing the baseline program and the actual progress relative to current plan. And also, there's no indication of final completion. Now, let us look at the bar chart pros and cons. So these are the advantages. It is a good communication tool, easy to prepare, and it has a minimal cost, easy to update, good for small projects. However, there are disadvantages. It doesn't show relationships between activities without a lot of extra lines, limited help limited help for project control. Now, what are the characteristics of a good schedule? No, actually, a good schedule will be logical, meaning it defines the relationship between the activities, no, like your predecessor and successors. Schedule logic is the relationships between tasks also, describes the cause and effect, the dependencies between activities. A dependency is the relationship between the start or finish of one task and the start or finish of another task. It is simple and easy to work with, easy to monitor, flexible, easy to revise, specific and timely. And then it will also anticipate problems, promote effective communication. This is an example of master schedule. So this is the highest summary level of schedule for a project, showing the overall phasing and all major interfaces, key milestone and significant work elements. So it is also known as summary level schedule, usually prepared manually as an outline of intent very early in the project's lifespan. But I would suggest that if you know how to use a software, it's better to prepare it in that software rather than sketching the master schedule, because later on you can update the master schedule. In some contracts, like here in Qatar, we are following three documents, no, like the general conditions of contract. We have the Qatar construction specification and also the FIDEC. The FIDEC is the Federation International the Engineers Consultants Torres, no, FIDEC. So basically, we follow this here in Qatar for submitting a program. When we are preparing a tender, there is a master program. So it is master schedule. Basically, the master schedule is like the execution program already. No, so it's just there's a few tweaks when it is awarded to the contractor. It is already detailed in the recent general conditions of contract here in Qatar. Moreover, let me proceed with my presentation. Master schedule developed as early as possible in the project lifespan. It maintained by the project manager and also the project owner and sponsor, preferably developed through negotiation with the project sponsor or owner or the client, should show all major activities at summary level, include key milestone or events relating to each major activity at critical points in time. Like for example, mobilization period. We want, or they want, most of the time you have to mobilize quickly, like in 2 weeks or in 1 week time. So you have to indicate that in your master schedule. When are you going to finish your site facilities? When you will mobilize your equipment, your construction team, your design team, and many more. And it is an original version, is the baseline or target schedule, provides a yardstick for the overall project status against which overall progress is measured. Because of its simplicity, it can be used throughout the project as the reporting base. So, as I've said, this is the baseline master schedule, should not be changed unless a formal and agreed rescheduling takes place for the entire project or a major part of it. And also, the current actual progress and the target schedule becomes so far apart that recovery is impossible and target objectives have become meaningless. Such changes are recognized by senior management and should be approved by the owner and the client, or the client. So, preparing a schedule. So when you are preparing a schedule, project scheduling can be very sophisticated. So refer to some of the many books on the subject for an in-depth understanding. You can ask your boss, your colleague, based on their experiences, basically how you will come up with duration, how you will come up with sequence of the activities for a particular project or scope of work. And then before you start preparing a serious detailed schedule, you must first have the work breakdown structure, a list of tasks derived from each work package, and then the staffing and resources required or available for each task. So do you really need all that information? Yes. And also assemble any other information that will affect schedule calculations. So based on my experience, when every time I prepare the master schedule or baseline program, I ask my colleague, I ask the managers, for example, in other department or disciplines like electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, because we have less knowledge about that. So you have to get those information. You can, of course, start developing a schedule long before you have all of that information. But such schedule will be high level, meaning it is just like, for example, mechanical. It will be just one-liner. Mechanical works, it will take you, let's say for a single story residential building, it will take you 90 days. So it is a high level. There's no further detail. You can only make a detailed program when you ask the mechanical engineer, like with electrical and plumbers. So correspondingly, less reliable. Kasi nga hindi pa siya detailed. And then, in fact, your detailed schedule should only come after several schedule and iterations earlier in the project lifespan. Also, there are a number of recommended steps depending on your particular project. So you can just Google it. You can find a lot of resources. And then first, assemble the key team members who will be responsible for conducting the project. Brief them on the purposes of the meeting. And then inevitably, there will be some preliminary discussions. So for our purposes, I have here prepared 10 general steps in preparing a reliable schedule. Step 1, you have to establish and agree the scheduling assumption, especially a clear set of scheduling objectives. For example, product quality grade, time and cost limitations that will affect the activities, methodology or technology to be used and how it will be applied. So you can ask your construction manager or site engineer to prepare for you the method statement so you can have the sequence of work. And then based on that activities, maybe the company have the standard norms for their productivity rates. No? Then you have to make the sources of resources and their competence or training needs, working hours, holidays, other interruptions. So you have to ask the sponsor or the engineer, are we allowed to work 10 hours per day, 7 days a week? So you have to agree with them. Are we allowed to work during holidays or not? Because you have to consider that in your scheduling. And then step 2, identify each logical work area as reflected in the work breakdown structure and the activities associated with each. No? And then make sure that all the necessary major activities and tasks have been included to create the required immediate and final deliverables. Also, if you have too many activities, consider using hammocks to group discrete tasks as one activity. In Primavera, there's steps being used so you can detail the high-level activity. No? So hammock is an aggregate or summary activity. All related activities are tied as one summary activity and reported at the summary level. And then step 3, establish the project's natural or inherent logic, the relationships between the two activities, the start to start. There are several relationships to finish, start to finish, so on and so forth. Some projects have very clear logic, while others provide more options depending on resources or the nature of the project or other circumstances. Nevertheless, there is almost always a preferred way of doing this. It is worth spending time to look for it, and then work the activities from the beginning to the end. Then work from the end back to the beginning. So you have from top down to bottoms up. So if the information is available, you can start from the bottom and up. If you don't know, you can start from top to bottom. And as the information develops. And then develop a flow chart or logic diagram. It's also known as a network diagram, or just make a bar, maybe using Excel or a piece of paper. Use the work breakdown structure as a to-do list. Which of these items must be done first? Of course, you have to label that item as A. You always start with A, then you have to follow with B, C, and D, so on and so forth. Now, ask what can be done concurrently with A, B, or C. Like for example, maybe during the concrete pouring, you can already carry out some clearing of the external area, or so on and so forth. It's just an example. Assemble a simple logic diagram arranged from left to right. This is an example logic diagram. So you have to do this first from A, and then you have to do this next, let's say to B, and then do this the same on time. So there's a parallel or concurrency. Then you have to do the next item, item C, and then item F. Also after D you have E, and then after E you have G, and then they merge. No? So from A it burst out, it became two activities, and then again it merged to one activity. So from start to finish. So that is the logic diagram. So use large sheets of paper, cards, or on the wall, or sticky notes. So I remember our planner in several projects, they always put it on their wall. No? Pinipaste nila or nilalagay nila sa mga pader nila yung mga ginagawa nilang mga plans para nakikita nila. So more than 30 activities separate project into two phases. Pag sobrang dami kasi, it's very difficult to monitor and control. And then step 4, incorporate any management choice. Like for example, yung logic, yung dates or sequence mandated by management. Sometimes they intervene. They want this activity to be completed in this way, in that way. So you have to incorporate their comments. This may or may not make sense. Make sure that management understands the implications of imposed management decisions. So you have to explain to them that when you do this, this will be like this. Adjust the logic accordingly. Always double check that the schedule's logic is sound. And then lastly, just repeat step 3 and 4. And then step 5, estimate the duration of each activity or track. So having the quantities, you can ask your quantity surveyors, or you yourself, you can quantify it as a planner, and then calculate or estimate the duration, having all those productivity rates with you. So productivity rates normally will be based on your company norms or standards, how they works, because minsan sa ibang environment or ibang lugar, mas mataas yung kanilang productivity, or what do I mean is yung mga laborer, yung mga skilled worker nila ay more experienced. Kung nasa ibang lugar naman, they have less experience. So you have to consider when you are estimating the duration. Then pay a particular attention to this step, since the whole schedule will depend upon it. So if you miscalculate the duration and you misunderstood the scope of work, then you will have a problem later on. You have to consider all the scope of work based on the contract and based on the given specifications and based on the given drawings. Now, use all available sources of information. You can ask your colleagues, I've said a while ago, to be enabled to calculate the duration, you must involve other disciplines like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, because they are the only one who knows when they can finish, on how many days they can complete such activities. And then be careful with published information, since the circumstance of your project may be different. So this is what I've said, na you have to check as well yung mga productivities na nakikita natin sa internet that is maybe not applicable in our environment. So i-check din natin yan. Some tasks will still be difficult to estimate. Seek expert help. Use ranges. So when you are already experienced, you have your benchmark based on your previous project. So it will be easy for you. But since for you guys, like young engineers, I know that you are into this, you are learning this, but we all know as well that during our college time, that this is not well explained. No? That's why I have come up with this presentation, just to let you know that these are the steps on how to make a schedule. So you have to document the areas of high uncertainty or risks. And then always aim for the most likely duration. So don't build in contingency. No, don't rely on it for every step or the project. It will not fly. So rely on your planning. Rely on your study of the project, and then always be realistic. You can refine on the second pass and make appropriate contingency allowances later. So if there's a lack of information, then you can rely, or you can allow contingency if really there's not enough information. Now, step 6, calculate by using forward pass, like adding the durations along each path in your network to establish the early start and then the finish or early finish dates for each activity. Then calculate the backward pass by repeating this operation, but working backwards from the last date established in the forward pass or from a specified required completion date to establish the late start and finish or late finish dates for each activity. So this is much easier using scheduling software. So madali na lang yan. If you are using a scheduling software, it's just a matter of inserting or inputting all the data in the computer, like Primavera, MS Project, or even Excel. If you are well versed in Excel, you can also do the scheduling. And then if you examine the value of early start and late start and early finish and late finish, you will note that the string of activities where these values are 0 is the longest path, or it is also known as the critical path. Where the values are positive indicates that there is a float, or for those activities you have buffer, you can allow it to be delayed a bit, or you can postpone a bit. No? So kapag mayroong positive numbers, it indicates you can still have time to delay, or let's say the other activity got delayed, so you still have window or buffer to come to work around your delays. Now, a negative early start and late start value implies that you must start an activity before you are logically able to do so. So that is, you don't have enough time to do all of the work as planned. This usually only happens when you are given a mandated first date, which is inadequate or too tight. So this is only the favorite pastime of the senior management. So if you have a negative values that the schedule doesn't work and you need to go to step 7, this one. So what is it? There are a number of things you can do to fix any unworkable schedule, this one, to meet predetermined end date. So check whether all activities are really necessary. Sometimes we overlook things. We just add some activities, but during the actual implementation, it seems that it is not necessary, and your program become there's no logic on it. So move activities off the critical path or eliminate them altogether. So, but of course, you have to get the approval by the owner or the engineer. Accelerate critical activities. If it is delayed, then you have to accelerate. You have to always look at the critical activities. Better, you have to prepare a look-ahead program. No? So, using overtime or more resources, you can work the delays. Work some activities in parallel or concurrently, or increase the amount of overlap. So basically, you have activities running together, at the same time. So you have to also allow that. Insist that management provides faster feedback on decision making. So basically, during the implementation, there are circumstances that your submittals will get delayed or due to approvals by the engineers or consultants or other parties, or maybe within your organization like your subcontractors and among other things. And then step 8, make sure that the resulting schedule chart makes sense and looks good. A well-presented bar chart will show the grouped activities in a progressive cascade, making it clear and easy to read. Use the calendar dates and create an ideal master schedule of milestone dates, identifying the completion of major or key activities. So beforehand, you can already have your own calendar. Determine the holidays, determine the working hour, and so on and so forth. You have to agree with the engineer or with the client if you will be allowed to work in 2 shifts or 7 days a week. Finally, when everyone is satisfied, follow up with these last 2 steps. Step 9, chart or print the results and distribute for final review and acceptance before issuing it to top management. And then lastly, abstract or summarize schedule data for different levels of management. And then for the scheduling reports, you have the following recipient, and you have the following data content. For the executive management, basically they need only to see the project start and finish. Yun lang. Yun lang gusto nilang makita. And then for the owner and client, yung mga key dates. Yung ano lang yung importante, kailan yung start, kailan yung finish, yun lang. Project manager, definitely yung mga milestones. Project coordinator, the summary schedule or the hammocks. Work package managers, or these are the construction managers, project engineers, site engineers. They need to have the full schedule or by work packages. And then the task leaders, a detailed schedule by tasks. Now let's go to schedule control. Strictly speaking, you cannot control the schedule. What you can do is create a schedule, have it distributed for action, observe what is actually going on, compare and update the schedule, report your findings to those in charge, conduct review meetings with your team. Planning and schedule review meetings. So this is very important. During the review meetings, and these are the following agenda that you have to know. Significance variance, the impact on future milestones, impact on activities of others, or the predecessors or successors, proposed actions to catch up, or if you need to work around delays, summary of expected future key milestone dates. Then when you are changing the schedule, if there is a severe problem with the schedule, recovery actions may well depend on the technology that you are dealing with. No? Kasi hindi ganoon kadali repair ng mga schedule or mag-change. Kung yan ay mga thousands of activities, if you are doing it manually, it's difficult. However, management steps that you might consider include closer control, crashing, no, by reducing time. Of course, when you are doing the crashing, you have to consider the cost, no, because you are increasing the resources. Then working overtime or double shifts. If it is allowed, then you have to work overtime or double shifts. And then fast tracking, you have to overlap some activities, you know, to in order for you to fast track the activities. If you can look at the agile method, then it's a good way of doing the fast tracking. And then also the trade-offs between scope, quality, time and cost, change methods, materials or equipment. So perhaps you can change the way you are doing the execution. Maybe it is taking much time. Maybe there's another way around to make it shorter, no? And then you have to negotiate a revised schedule. You have to negotiate it with your consultant or with your client that because of the circumstances, I have to change the schedule. So hindi naman lahat ng mga gusto natin na mangyayari ma-aprubahan ka agad. So you have to discuss it with them. You have to negotiate that because of this and that, we have to revise the schedule. If the schedule gets really out of whack, or you may need to do more than just negotiate a revised schedule, you may need to obtain approval for a major revision of the timeline. So you have to obtain the approval. No? Major revisions of the methodology or resources. Revision of the project scope with all appropriate approvals, of course. In other words, a major replanning effort. So if you will do this manually, it will be very difficult for us or for you. And then a suggested flow chart for a schedule change process is shown on the next slide. So this is the suggested change process. So you will just ask yourself, is there any change of scope? If yes, then prepare the scope change. Then you have to prepare and modify the schedule. You can go and monitor it, and then is it on schedule again? Yes or no. If it is yes, then remain on schedule. Go back. If it is no, is it ahead of schedule? Yes or no again. Now, if the change scope is no, you have to remain behind schedule. Then that's the problem. Then you have to change the resources. Are you going to change or not? And then it's a cycle. Now this is the exciting part, the network scheduling. I know that you are eager to know about the network scheduling. So basically, it is a graphical display of the logical order of activities that defines the sequence of work in project where activities are represented by boxes. And then networks are usually drawn from left to right with lines drawn between the boxes to show the precedence relationships between them. And then arrowheads are sometimes placed on the lines to indicate the direction of the flow through time. And these are the network advantages. The precedence diagram format is the most common. So this is, I will show the next slide. So this is the example of the precedence network diagram. Basically, the red line is the critical path. And then shows logical interrelationship between activities, that is their interdependence, enables easy calculation for critical path either manually or with software. Critical path activities have zero float and constitutes the longest path in the project. Shows how much float other activities have. The critical path determines length of project according to the project logic and the critical activities for that particular scenario. It is easy to assign leads and lags between activities to solve a deadline problem, and then easy to apply resources and determine resources or time trade-offs, facilitates what-if scenarios. By running the same network with actuals, it is fairly easy to assess project progress and performance. And these are the network disadvantages. If you have more than a few activities, you need to use software already. Kasi mahirap na pag sobrang dami, kung gagamitan mo lang siya ng mano-mano, mahihilo ka sa paggagawa ng precedence diagram or arrow diagram or AON. It will be a hell of a work. No? So you have to seek the help of a software like Microsoft Project, Primavera, and many more. So the network itself is not a good presentation communication tool. Good software will present the same information as a bar chart. The network itself is really only a means to an end. And these are the network terminology. First is the activity. It is an item of work that consumes time and resources to produce some result. Like for example, excavation. So you need time, and also you need resources like laborers or maybe excavators. And then the critical path. These are the series of activities, all of which must finish on time for the whole project to finish on time. And then sometimes described as the longest path through a network, hence the shortest project time. Meaning it is showing the red line, that's the critical path. And also the critical path has zero float. A critical path assumes that the network logic is sound. Event or milestone. It is a point in time when certain conditions have been fulfilled, such as the start or completion of one or more activities. Unlike an activity does or does not consume time or resources, hence express a state of being, activities take place between events. So another terminology is the float or slack time, the additional time available to complete a non-critical activity. Then you have here the leads and lags, an imposed modification of the logical relationship between activities to accelerate or delay the apparent nature order. Using again the software, it is very easy to impose leads and lags. But if you are using a manual calculation, it will be a long process. So scheduling network is a graphical representation of activities or nodes and the dependencies between them. And then time estimate, it is the prediction of the most likely duration of an activity. Now, these are the approaches to network analysis. Essentially, there are three different approaches. One is the activity-oriented system, and event-oriented system, and lastly, the event-oriented system plus probability. Activity-oriented system use either activities as connectors or activities as nodes. Event-based approach focuses on start and finish times and may involve PERT, program evaluation review techniques. Show graphically on the next slide. So this one. So this is the network analysis, is the general name to certain specific techniques which can be used for the planning, management, and control of the project. So you have the activity-oriented system. You can follow activity on arrow or AON, or it's also known as arrow diagram. So there's an example there. You start with a circle, and then an arrow, and then the circle. The circle there is the node. And then you have there the activities along the arrow and the duration as well. Whereas for the activity as node, is known also as the precedence diagram, where you have the duration at the left or the upper box, no, and then the activity as the lower box, and then the right side box will be the total duration, and then at the middle box or the upper box will be the late start and late finish. Later on, we will show you some example. And then for the event-oriented systems, this is the project evaluation and review technique. You have there the circle as the activity, and then the arrow as the duration, and then that is how you will see the PERT, no? And then there are three estimates basically being used: pessimistic, most likely, optimistic for each duration. So basically, low, medium, and high. There are some references giving you low, medium, high for the productivity. So when you calculate the duration, you can have by using the 3-point estimate. So it can be used, the calculation is like this. Expected time will be the TO, no? Plus 40 median plus TP over 6. That is to say the mean value of the three estimates. So meaning the O is optimistic, the P is pessimistic, and the most likely is the M. Now, network relationships. Networks depends on relationships. Relationships between activities are central to the concept of network analysis. Like, for example, start to start, finish to finish, finish to start, and so on and so forth. Several relationships, including lag factors, are shown graphically on the next several slides. Note that with arrow diagramming, you may have to use dummy activities to correctly display certain relationship, but it's not intuitive or it doesn't have duration, and but it works. So this is the sample of arrow diagramming. So here we have here a two activity working in parallel, A and C, but A must precede B and D. So there's a dummy there, and then C must precede D. And this is how it looks like for the precedence diagram. A must precede B and D, and C must precede D. Now looking at the lag factor notation, activity A and activity B, and lag type, it's start relationship, and then the lag amount. So this is how it will look like, no? When you have the activity, the type is start to start. Like for example, activity A, it will take 10 days, but activity can be delayed later by 6 days. So you have a total of 15 days, 10 and minus 6, 15 days. So completion of A and B are independent. Now, completion is dependent but not start. This is another example for that finish to finish relationship, no? You have there activity A, you can you have a buffer of 6 days, no? But the activity B will start and B are independent. And then this is the other one. B depends on A after a specified lag. So this is the finish to start with lag. Activity A, activity B have 6 days lag before it can start. So you can delay or even you can also adjust it, and by removing the lag. This is how it looks like for the precedence network activity data boxes. So for the left side, you have there the early start, and then the middle part of the box on the upper portion is the activity number, and then the right part is the early finish, and the middle box is the activity description. Here it is I think this is a hybrid network data box, no, wherein there is a late start and late finish, and then the activity duration. So this is an example of the precedence network diagram. The middle part is duration and the activity A, B, C, and D as like this one, but the bottom part is not there. Now, these are the steps in the critical path method. No. First, you have to specify the individual activities, then determine the sequence of activities, followed by drawing the network diagram, and then you have to estimate the activity completion date, then identify the critical path, and then lastly, update the CPD diagram or CPM diagram. For the PERT, it is almost similar with the CPM. You have to identify the specific activities and then determine proper sequence of the activities, construct the network diagram, estimate the time required for each activity, and then determine the critical path. Then you have to update the PERT chart. So, Chairman, can we have a 5 minutes break?
Sure,
Yes.
sure. Thank you, engineer, for bringing this up. This 5 minutes break. It was a loaded information. So I will request everyone to have a water break from your end.
ka? Kamusta?
Okay lang. Looking good tayo.
Ha?
Looking good tayo.
Ay, ikaw din ah. Mukhang
Wala ka sa lamin nga, hindi tayo magkakamusta.
sabi ko nga kanina eh. Pag nakikita ka, kapag kamala na ako, wala ko naman nakikita nila kapag kamala na ikaw.
Wala si Sir Nidel.
Ah,
Madalas magkamali eh.
kaya balik mo. May plano pa bang bumalik?
Sir,
Eh, nung pag-alis mo, ang dami nyung nakuha project sa amin.
may mga may upa kaya. Takot naman na ako ng telephone. Pwede na kung gusto ko lang bumalik. Medyo, ano na.
Stop natin ito ano.
Bukan. Pumunta muna po ako ng Oman and then tsaka
Sorry?
papadaanin daw po ako ng Oman. Kaya lang, kakatakot.
Oo. Wow. Actually, nung pag-alis mo, ang daming project na nakuha ng company mo, yung former company mo. Meron kaming 6 na tower.
CCL.
Oo. Halos nakuha ng CCL.
Eh,
Yung 5 yata, may kontrata na eh.
Actually, may nag-message nga sa akin, sir eh. Nandun yung pangalan ko dun sa may nag-message sa akin kasi nandun yung pangalan ko sa documents eh. Dito ka na pala. Sabi ko hindi. Kaya pa. Sabi ko, hayaan nyo na lang.
Ang dami project nyo sa amin.
Good afternoon,
Sorry,
Engineer Russell.
Nice, sir.
Yung kamukha ko raw.
Yung kamukha niya, no? All right, let's go back to our presentation. Take it away, Engineer
Yeah.
Elvin.
The question and answer box. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes po.
Someone asked how to
We-
use Primavera.
we-
It is
we-
part
we-
of
We will entertain after the session po, Engineer
it
Elvin.
is part of my presentation later. Tuturuan ko kayo paano maggamit ng Primavera.
Yes.
So, okay, going back. So, okay, here I have prepared a simple project. No, let us create a precedence diagram. Now, in the table, we have the activity A, B, C, and D, and it has immediate predecessors. For A, it doesn't have predecessor, but it has a duration of 5 days. Activity B, it doesn't have immediate predecessor, and it has an expected time of 6 days. Whereas C, the immediate predecessor is A, and D, the immediate predecessor is A and B. So look at the diagram at the right side where we have the start, where A, it doesn't have a predecessor, but of course you have to link it to the start or from the start. Similar with activity B. Now looking at activity C, this one, no? Activity C, it has a predecessor of activity A. So activity A. While activity D, it has predecessor of activity A and B. So clear? So simple. So activity A, it doesn't have predecessor, but from the start, this is a milestone. And then activity B from the start. And then activity C, the predecessor is A. activity D has a predecessor or have a predecessor of A and B. And this all merging to activity finish. Okay? So this is how it looks like. Now, let us calculate the duration. This is how the presentation of the precedence diagram table, no? Wherein at the upper box corner is the activity, and then you have the duration, this one, then early start, early finish. So it depends sa gumagawa ng precedence diagram. You can follow the previous that I have presented, or you can use similar to this. ES means the early start, EF means the early finish, LS means the late start, LF means the late finish, and slack is the difference in time. So we will have this formula for the slack. Late finish minus early finish equals late start minus early start. For the early start, calculating the duration, you have the maximum early finish or of activity A and early finish of activity B. You have to select between the two kung ano yung mataas. And then for the late finish of activity A, you have the minimum of late start of activity C or late start of activity D. So you have to select between the two kung alin yung minimum. So let's start with activity A. Ang duration niya based on the previous slide is 5 days, this one. So we'll just remember it, 5, 6, 4, 2. So this is the start. So the duration will be moving to activity C. You have to carry over yung duration niya, which is 5. And then i-add mo lang yung duration ng activity C, and then you will have total duration of 9. Whereas for activity B, you have 6 days duration, okay? And then moving forward, so this is forward pass muna tayo, then later on we'll do the backward pass para hindi tayo ma-confuse. So for activity A, since ang predecessor ng activity D is activity A, you have to select between the two kung saan yung maximum here for the activity D. Since mas mataas yung duration ng activity B, that will be carried over because this two activities merge into one activity. So nag-join sila doon. Of course, you cannot carry out yung 5 days, no? Kasi magkakamali yung calculation mo. So i-forward mo yung 6. Now, i-add mo yung duration ng 2 na activity D, it will have total of 8 days. So, yung buong activity, ang duration niya ay 9 days. Now, calculating the slack or time for activity D, basically the late start minus late finish. Late start and early finish. So, late finish and minus early finish. So, 9 minus 8, you have 1. No, calculating backward to calculate the late start, let's start from activity D. So basically the duration of the total duration minus the duration of that activity. So 9 minus 2, that will be 7. Sa kabila naman, 9 minus 5 equals 4. Okay, so yan yung kanyang duration. Now, ano yung maki-carried out? Yung late start. So, i-carried out mo yon, and then minus 5, so you have 0. And then here, likewise, you have to carry the late start, 7, then minus 1, you have 6. So, equal siya. Ngayon, kung nasaan yung 0 yung slack time, yan yung critical path. So, ang critical path natin dito ay AC. Okay, activity AC. So again, this is another simple project to create a CPM. So let me show you the table first. So you have here activity A to I, no? The immediate predecessor of A is none. B has A, C has A, D has A, E has D, and F have B, C, E, G has F, H has have F, and I has G. So these are the durations for each activities. Okay? Now, how it looks like. So, drawing ko na. So, we'll start from 1 using the CPM. And then you have in the arrow the activity and the duration. So, activity A has 3 days duration. Okay? So, wala siyang predecessor. Kaya, nag-start siya. And then, yung activity C, okay, ang kanyang predecessor ay activity A. So, this one, so C, this is the predecessor A. And then, yung B, ang predecessor niya ay A. So, nag-burst out siya, no? Nagkaroon siya ng tatlong activity. And then, yung another na dumugtong sa activity A is yung activity D. So, there are 3 activities na nag-usbong or nag-burst out dito sa By the way, it is planning or scheduling terminology rin yung merging tsaka bursting, no? Merge and burst. And also, activity E, ang kanyang predecessor ay, this is activity E, no? Ang predecessor niya ay D, okay? And then yung yung activity F is BCD. So, B, C, and D, that one. And then yung activity G, ang predecessor niya ay F. And then yung predecessor ng H ay F. And then yung I is G, this one. So, let us calculate yung total duration nito. So, basically, ang critical path niya ay A plus D plus F plus G plus I, or with a total 30 days duration. Yan yung kanyang critical path. So, again, for using the PERT, these are the sample activity. Activity A to G. Activity A has a precedence of A, B A, C is A, D is A, and E is D. F has B, C, E, and G has F. And these are the durations. So, this is how it looks like. So, activity A, ang kanyang precedence ay wala. Yung B ay A, yung C ay A, and then yung D ay C, no? And then yung E is D, and then F is BCE, and then G is F. Okay? Now, the critical path is A, C, D plus E plus F plus G, or total of 64 days. So, let us look at the difference between CPM and PERT. No? CPM works with fixed deterministic time, and it's useful for repetitive and non-complex projects with a certain degree of time estimates. And then it includes time cost trade-off, and it is normally used for construction projects. While the PERT, it is works with probabilistic, useful for non-repetitive and complex projects with uncertain time estimates, restricted to time variable, and used for research and design programs. So now, tapos na yung aking basic. Now, may nagtanong kanina about Primavera. Now we will use the Primavera. I will show you the application on how to use the Oracle Primavera in scheduling. So, I have this sample program. I hope you can read it. No? So, it is a construction of car garage. So, we have these following activities: excavate foundation, concrete foundation, concrete column, block works to 1 meter high, concrete to slab on grade, block works to roof level, concrete roof level, concrete roof beam, fixed roof, waterproof roof, fixed doors and windows, paint and cleanup. So these are the corresponding durations, no? So these are the corresponding durations in days, and these are the predecessors, okay? And for just purpose of orientation, I have here written also yung equivalent niya in ID. So I have used the several IDs para sa paggawa ng Primavera, makita natin. We will compare it kung paano ipakita yung PERT sa Primavera, no? yung CPM. So I have drawn already here how it looks like, yung kanyang precedence diagram. No? Now, are you ready for the Primavera? So I'll show you yung Primavera. I'll stop sharing. All right. So I think this is the last part of my presentation. I will show you kung paano paganahin yung Primavera. So let me share my screen again. Saan ba yung screen? Hindi ko makita yung yung desktop ko. Ano kaya? I'll play first yung Primavera. Gusto ko sana ipakita kung paano mag-load ng Primavera para makita ninyo. So, ito na. So, okay. Can you see the Primavera?
Not yet. Ayan, nandyan na.
So, okay. Pero, very small, no?
It's okay. Readable naman siya.
So, I'll just type in my password. I'm using the version 19 of the Oracle Primavera. By the way, this is free, guys, from Primavera. It's not, wala siyang bayad. Kaya yung mga student, if given a chance, pwede natin silang turuan. Because since ito lang ay parang startup lang, actually, we in the Filipino Planning Engineers Association, we have different programs. We call it Filipino FBEA Integrated Training Program. So we have FITP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It starts from basic in using Primavera, and then advanced, and then we have also the delay analysis. We have also the preparation of baseline program or master program, and then we have also the contracts, the FIDEC, and many more. So hopefully matuloy na yung namin na mag-create ng student chapter. So loading na ba? I'm loading the Oracle Primavera. Can you see it, Chairman?
It's loading. Sir Elvin.
Okay, kaya
Nawala siya.
nawala. parang limited yung ng webinar. Hindi ko makita yung Kaya pala yung iba nakaka-experience ng problem. So, share. Ayan.
Ayan na, open na po.
Okay, very good. So this is the home window of the Primavera. No? You can see here, wala pang project. So sa home window, makikita mo rito yung enterprise project structure. So gagawa ako ng enterprise project structure for UCU, Urdaneta City University. What I will gonna do, these are the upper panes, the left bottom panes, and the lower panes. So I'll just go to the enterprise and then click the enterprise project structure. And then let's say I will add another enterprise project structure. Say UCU. So I'll name it University Urdaneta pala, no?
Urdaneta.
Urdaneta City University. So, student, just follow. Hindi ko naman bibilisan, no? Para at least makita nyo kung paano nag-operate yung Primavera. So, yan, meron na tayong enterprise project structure for UCU. I can close that already. And then, basically from these projects, I can add project already by clicking the plus sign. Now I am creating a new project and then I have already selected the EPS. So basically you can select other EPS, no? Like this one. I hope na nakikita nyo. So right now I will select the UCU. So there you are. Just click next. Then you can add here ID. Let's say UCU Bungalow Unit. Or car park project. So construction o carport na lang. Then just click next at UCU. Let's say ang start date natin, gusto nating simulan, agree na tayo sa client. Let's say gusto niyang simulan sa September 1st. So let's start at September 1st. Just click next. Responsible manager, you can just select the default, or if you can also list the names who will be responsible for the project. For time being and illustration purposes, I will just use the default. For the standard rate or rate type, I will use the default. And then that's it. You have already created a new project. So ito na yon. So hindi pa ito tapos, still we have to open this and create the activities. So gagawa tayo ngayon ng schedule, or ang tawag namin dito ay program. So there you are. So this one is the activity window. Nandito yung mga activity ID, yung activity name, yung duration, start, finish, early start, early finish. Actually, pwede nating ma-hide muna itong mga columns na to, and then later on, I can show you kung paano mag-generate siya. Yung kanina, calculate natin, pero dito, ilalabas lang natin yung mga column na to at ibibigay na sa atin kung ano yung kanyang early start, early finish, and even yung kanyang diagram, no? Ipapakita na sa atin. So here, for time being, para at least hindi siya calculate automatically, i-off ko muna yung ano. So, okay. So, kanina, pinakita ko sa inyo yung mga activities. So, gawa na tayo ng program. I will just simply add, click plus sign here. No, there you are. And then, let's keep this activity ID. Let's say, pwede mo itong palitan para pag gumawa ka ng program, naka-sequence na siya. Or pwede naman later na lang. Madali na maglagay ng activity ID. May mga ways how to fast track yung paglagay ng activity ID. So, let's start with the, let's say, project start. No? Project start. So, normally, ang project start, walang walang duration. It's the start of the project. So, it has a activity type of start milestone. So here at the bottom pane, you have here different types. You can here view the status, the resources, the predecessors, the successors, the codes, notebook steps, and even you can attach here documents. No, itong kagandahan ngayon, kahit yung mga evidences, you can attach it here, as well as expenses and summary. Now, so this project start, I will assign it as start milestone kasi start siya, no? Hindi siya actually activity, it's a milestone. And then we'll start with the kanina yung excavate foundation, no? Excavate foundation. Ang duration niya is 5 days. So, let me see here. Ayan, nakikita nyo, meron siyang chart na lumalabas. Or bar, sorry. And then you have concrete foundation. Concrete foundation. The duration is 3 days. Next is next activity is concrete column. So nakapag ano ka na ng foundation, siyempre kasunod na niyan ay column. Okay, duration is 7 days. Sumunod naman after ng concrete column, pwede ka nang mag block works, kasama na diyan yung wall footing, so on and so forth, no? Hanggang sabihin natin na kanina to 1 meter high. Una. So, ang duration niyan 6 days. Okay? Now, after block works, you can do the backfilling and yung ground slab. So, sabihin natin na concreting ng slab on grade. Kasama na dyan yung backfilling, so on and so forth. So, kung mayroon mang paglalagay dyan ng soil poisoning, pwede rin, no? Kasama na. So, ito high-level program muna. So, concrete to slab on grade. Let's say, ang duration niya ay 4 days. Next niyan, okay, pwede ka nang mag-proceed sa block works, no? Block works, or pwede rin yung column, kung ano man yung gusto mong mangyari. Or pwede mo ng block works para makatipid ka sa form work. Di ba? Ganun naman ang ginagawa natin. Approve naman yan eh. So kung gusto mong nice and neat, pwedeng column muna. Kung gusto mong gumastos ng malaki. So natapos na yung block works, lagyan na natin ng form works yung column. So let's say naisama na dyan sa lagyan na natin yung concrete roof beam. Okay. So, yung concrete roof beam ay sabihin natin na 7 days. High-level program lang muna ito, no? Just to show you an illustration kung paano gumagana yung Primavera. Actually, maraming use ito. By the way, free ito guys, ha? Hindi ko ito minamarket kasi free naman siya. You can download it from the Oracle website, no? You can even get the latest version. And then yung fixed roof, sabihin natin yung kanyang duration ay 8 days. And then yung waterproofing works is 2 days. And then we have here fixing of doors and windows. Alright. Ang duration niya ay 2 days. Then, wala na. Pwede na tayong magpintura, mag-clean up paint, and clean up. So, simple program lang muna. Yung mahabang program requires more time. So, yan. So, this is it. So, do you think ito na yung program natin? Tapos na yan? Hindi pa. Anong sabi kanina doon sa steps? We have to do the logic, no? Yung relationship. So, yung logical naman niya. So, yung project start, so lagyan din natin ng project finish. So, let's say project finish. Para makita natin yung kanyang ano. Yan, project finish. So, ang project finish ay wala ring duration, no? Yan ay milestone. Yung activity type niyan ay finish milestone. So, dito sa activity type, you have several types. Meron kang finish milestone, level of effort, resource department, start milestone, task dependent, and WBS. Yung default dito is task dependent, which is yung lahat naman ng activities talaga ay task dependent. The others, you will select from the type of activities, whether there's a level of effort, no? Yung particular job ay yung resources niya ay shared, no? So you can use the level of effort, so on and so forth. We can teach you this in another seminar. So ngayon, tapos na ba itong program? Hindi pa. So we will have the relationship. I-click ko yung yung relationship line para makita natin yung relationship nila. So parang ano lang yan, mag-boyfriend at mag-girlfriend. So, kailangan i-connect natin lagi. Alright. So, from project start, so ang unang gagawin is yung site layout, so on and so forth. So, here, higher level tayo, excavate na kagad ang foundation. Kasama na dyan yung mga layout, so on and so forth. Kaya 5 days. No? After nyan, pwede na tayong mag-concrete. So, idugtong ko lang, pwede rin naman dito sa predecessor, sa successor. No, pwedeng assign, pwedeng ano. So, since medyo napahaba yata yung presentation at wala na tayong time, dito na lang ako para mabilis, no? Pwede naman dito sa lower pane box na ito. Pwede natin ilagay yung mga predecessor, successor. By the way, yung basic Primavera, it is a 1-month training. So, ito, minutes training lang ito. Okay? So, apologies guys. So, ito, i-select natin ito, connect natin sa excavate, pwede na tayo mag-concrete. And then, concrete foundation, concrete column. So, itong concrete column niya mula sa foundation hanggang sa taas ng roof beam na yan. Okay? And then, pwede na mag-block works. Block works. After block works, siyempre, mag-backfilling ka, compaction, pwede ka nang mag-concrete ng slab on grade. After slab on grade, ituloy mo yung block works mo hanggang roof. Diba? Bakit nag-automatic pa rin ito? Sabi ko maging automatic eh. Kaya pala. Anyway, nag-automatic na siya, no? So nakikita ninyo, nagmo-move yung bar. At namumula na siya. Kasi yan yung longest path natin or critical path. So after ng concrete beam, pwede na tayong mag-fix ng roof. Yan, hindi na siya nag-automatic. And then, after ng fix ng roof, meron tayong waterproofing. So, mag-waterproof kasi may mga leak. So, saan yung waterproof? Concrete beam. So, i-connect natin to. And then, waterproof. Yan. Yung fix ng doors and windows, pwede natin itong simulan ng mas maaga, no? Maybe dito sa activity na to, sa concrete slab. So, pwede nang mag-prepare dyan yung fix ng doors and window. So, ito yon, i-connect natin yan, fix doors and window. Alright. And then yung painting, of course, kailangan mag-connect yan sa fixed roof. Yan. Then pwede rin itong fixed doors and windows mag-connect doon sa blockworks para makita natin yung kanyang dummy line mamaya. And then what else? Yung fix, yung clean up, i-connect natin sa nagkaroon ng dangling, i-remove muna natin. Nagkaroon ng redundancy. Kaya mas gusto ko rin yung nag-automatic yung schedule. Nakikita yung nangyayari sa program, no? And then, saan na tayo? Nagkamali ng connecta. Predecessor. Tanggalin muna natin yung predecessor. Yan. May shortcut din dito yung F9 sa keyboard, no? So okay. So yung fix ng window, yung predecessor niya, waterproof, okay. Doors and windows. So dito siya mag-connect. And then yung paint work niya nag-connect dito. And then finish. Balikan natin yung mga predecessor na given kanina. So yung ating excavation, ang predecessor niya project start, okay. And then concrete foundation is excavate, tama. So balikan natin itong fixed doors and windows. Yung kanyang predecessor ay A070, which is block to roof level. So mali yung kanyang predecessor. Ito. So ito dapat ang kanyang predecessor. Okay? And then concrete beam. Finish to start. Yan. And then, yung paint cleanup, block works, and then concrete beam. And then paint cleanup, yung predecessor niya ay waterproof works. So, tama. And then, fixed doors and windows. So, fixed doors and windows. Ayan. Yan. So, yan na guys. So, ilan yung total duration niya? 60 days. Di ba? Ang bilis sa primavera. Nakita mo na kagad yung early start, early finish. And then, pwede natin ipakita yung late start, late finish by clicking yung column. Hanapin natin yung columns. Ito. So, hanapin ngayon yung late start and late finish. Madali lang. Late and then search. Pag hindi mo kabisado. Yan. I-click mo. Ilagay mo sa dulo. And then also yung late finish. And pwede natin idagdag yung total float. Yung float. Yan. Apply natin. Okay. So, yan. Nakita na natin yung mga late finish and late start niya. And then, kung saan yung total float na 0, yun yung critical. So, lahat yata critical. 1 minute, nag-filter na. Filter. I-off ko muna yung filtering. Naka-on yung filtering. So, tanggalin ko. All activity supply. So, yung critical, by simply filtering, makikita natin dyan yung critical activities. So, sa ngayon, lahat ng activity ay naandyan by clicking sa columns, filter, wala. So, right-click and then filter. So, ito na, filter. Critical and then apply. Ayun, lalabas yung critical. Pwede rin, gusto lang nating ipakita sa client yung milestone. So, meron din ditong filter for milestone and then apply. So, dalawa lang yung kikita. Yung project tsaka yung start and project finish. So, ganun lang kabilis. So, balik natin by filtering all activities and then apply. Okay. Now, tingnan natin yung kanyang WBS tsaka yung kanyang per CPM. So, by clicking this activity network, makikita natin. Ayan. Diba, parehas nung kanyang ginawa natin, no? Medyo may konting ano lang dito kasi ito yung default ng ano. So, nandyan yung mga information niya. Alright? So, ito, once na sinubmit mo sa client at inaprubahan, you can use this as baseline. No? And then, by maintaining that baseline, you can update that program. Okay? And later on, you can see yung difference between yung plan and yung actual progress sa site. So, that's for the illustration or application ng Primavera. Ngayon, kung mas detailed, we can help you or we can have maybe special training for using the Primavera alone. So, that's all. And let me share you again the last slide. Meron pa akong slide. Then later on, mag-question and answer tayo. So, madali lang yung Primavera, no? You can also use Microsoft Project. It depends kung ano yung requirements sa contract. Dito sa amin sa Qatar, normally ang nire-require ng client ay Primavera. So, magandang ano rin yon, magandang practice dyan sa atin kung masimulan pa lang at your early stage sa pag-aaral, meron na kayong training sa Primavera. Actually, sa ibang country, meron talaga silang sariling subject. Like for example, sa quantity surveying, yung mga quantity surveyors, yung iba kahit hindi mga engineers, okay, mag-take lang sila ng quantity surveying. Minsan mas adept pa or marami silang alam kaysa sa mga engineers, no, in terms of quantity surveying, kasi yung training nila is more on quantity surveying. Ba't nawawala, Chairman, yung aking screen? Alright, ito na siguro. So yan yung sample kanina. So we did it using the Primavera. Yung kanyang activity network, it looks like this as well. May konting tweaks lang dito sa Excel, no? Now, to summarize, we have covered the essential players in the construction projects, the vested interest of stakeholders, and work activity processes. Also, we have tackled the importance of planning and scheduling, definition of planning and scheduling, uses and benefits, type of schedules, schedule preparation, schedule reports and control, network scheduling and analysis techniques, difference between CPM and PERT, and of course, yung application ng Primavera. So these are my references, no? I used some of the information taken from the Association for Project Management 2015 edition, and then also from the Project Management Institute 2019 edition, and also from Ritz and Levy, yung 2013 edition nila, second edition in the Total Construct Project Management, and from the book of Newton, Project Skills, Managing the Project Schedule, and of course, yung libro ko ng Project Planning and Control using Oracle Primavera. So, this is my parting word. Time is the coin of our lives. We must take care how we spend it. So, maraming salamat po. Have a nice day. And stay healthy, happy, and holy always from our National Immediate Past President, Dr. Suero. Have a nice day po. May question po ba? Back to you, Chairman. Sumobra na yata tayo sa allotted time.
Yes, it's okay. Allow me to welcome and acknowledge our very active PIC Qatar COCPA member, Engineer Babylin Segovia, to read the question and answer. I mean, questions in the chat box.
There are no questions, sir, asked in the chat box except from Nicole. She's asking regarding how to use Primavera, which is Engineer Elvin already discussed and showed us a while ago. Okay. May question po si Sir Magat just now. Sir Engineer Elvin, is it more likely to revise the baseline programs to catch up delays to provide an extension of time with the same project? What are the advantage and disadvantage of that?
I guess Engineer Elvin is not around. Is he here? Okay, bumalik na siya.
Okay, Engineer
Okay.
Elvin, I will read the question coming from Sir Magat. Is it more likely to revise the baseline programs to catch up delays or provide an extension of time with the same project? What are the advantages and disadvantages of it?
Sir Wilfredo. Actually, not necessarily, kasi it depends sa situation. If the delay is with merits, tingnan natin yung merit ng delay, no? Who causes the delay? Ikaw ba or si client? Ngayon, kung halimbawa na may merit yung claim mo na to revise the program, yes, it is. Why not? You can also revise your schedule, not necessarily the baseline program. Your working or activity program. Nowadays, meron tayong activity program na ginagamit sa contract na yun yung pwede mong i-update or revise para ma-catch up yung delay. So, depende kung ano yung mga gamitin mo, kung i-fast track mo siya or mag-crashing ka, so on and so forth. For the advantages and disadvantages ng pag-revise ng baseline, of course, for the contractor, ang advantage nito makaka-catch up na yung mga delay niya, pero sa disadvantage side naman ng client, kumbaga, bakit niya ibibigay yung pag-revise ng schedule. So meron tayong program sa FPEA na sa extension of time claim, Filipino Planning Engineers Association. Meron tayong dedicated na FITP, since pwede tayong makipag-collaborate, and we can also discuss briefly yung about baseline and extension of time claim. It's about contracts kasi. No? Okay. Anything else? Gusto kong malaman dun sa mga estudyante kung may natutunan sila.
Yes, I'm afraid
Sige.
kung si Sir Elvin ang magtatanong sa mga estudyante. Engineer Melissa, there's another question from him, but I guess you should put it in the Q&A box, please.
Si Ma'am Melissa may
Actually, I
tanong.
cannot put it in the Q&A box. I'm struggling since
Okay,
a while. Sorry.
you may better read Engineer Bebelin.
Okay. I will ask my question. As per your work experience, Engineer Elvin, during the recovery program, what was the percentage increase in terms of cost compared to the normal cost program? Please give minimum and maximum. Thank you.
So,
Kasi alam natin na very costly ang recovery program eh. Pero as per your experience,
ang ano kasi, ang pag-recover ng mga delays, of course, it will be very costly, no? Kasi magdadagdag ka ng mga resources in addition doon sa mga current resources mo. Kasi ito lang yung plano mo, and then you will add more resources. Kung delay ng 3 days yung yung project mo, tapos let's say 10 days yung total duration niya, tapos 3 days yung delay. Imagine 30% yung increase, no? I'm talking about duration kasi sa cost loading schedule, flat lines yan no? Bawat activity. So naka-divide siya doon sa duration for each activity. So it depends yan sa mga activity na affected. So we're talking here malaki, no? Kaya yung mga contractor, if they say i-recover, tinatry nilang tingnan yung mga ibang activity na baka pwedeng i-slow down, no? Na hindi pa naman siya critical, para hindi talaga magkaroon ng malaking effect yung impact sa cost, no? So ganun ang mga strategies na ginagawa natin. Titingnan natin yung mga ongoing activities na baka pwede namang i-delay and i-divert yung mga resources. Percentage wise, maybe 5 to 10%, no? This is my own opinion, no? But ako as a project manager, that's how I look at it. Tinitingnan ko yung the whole picture, and then tinitingnan ko yung mga ongoing activities ko. Tapos kung halimbawa yung isang activity hindi pa naman critical, dinedivert ko yung mga resources. And then looking ahead, no, you have the 1 week look ahead program or 7 days look ahead, 14 days look ahead program. So kailangan as a project manager, minomonitor mo yung program mo para at least mawawarn ka na okay, ito na yung buffer ko. Kailangan ko nang ibalik ulit yung aking resources doon sa dati kong pinagtunuhan para hindi masyadong malaki yung loss mo. Okay? So it's just a matter of proper execution sa site. Tsaka yung sabi ko nga kanina, kailangan naka-monitor ka sa program, sa schedule. Okay?
Thank you,
Baka
Sir
wala pang
Alvin.
cost impact. Baka wala pang maging cost impact as long as yung resources mo na andon. Baka walang cost impact. Nasa sa atin. Kasi kumikita naman yung mga projects eh.
I might something to add. This is maybe if the contract allows to recover the program. So in the view of the contractor, kung allow siya sa contract na i-recover niya, pwede siyang mag-recover. Pero pag hindi inallow ng client, wala siyang magagawa kung
LD na, sir.
wala siyang cost.
LD na po ba pag hindi allowed?
It's internally kasi ang contract is it may be subjected to contract stipulations, but as a contractor, when you are already delayed, you have to
catch up the schedule.
so you have to mitigate it. So that's why another example nga yung ginawa kong example is yung tingnan mo yung lahat ng ongoing activities. Tapos, ano ba yung mga activities na hindi pa naman so critical, kumbaga malayo pa, pwede mong i-divert yung mga resources as long as hindi siya maapektuhan. If it gets affected, then that's the moment na mag-add ka ng resources. Kasi we are talking here, yung resources dito is equipment and labor. Material is there. No? Nagets nyo? So, ang resources na pinag-usapan natin dito, kaya nagkakaroon ng additional cost, is yung manpower, no, and equipment. Yung lahat ng mga dyan, nag-manage, nandyan yan, the whole cycle of the project. Kahit anong gawin nila, yun pa rin ang cost niya for that entire duration. No? Walang additional. Kahit madagdagan yung trabaho mo, nadagdagan lang yung trabaho, yung workload mo. Pero same pa rin yung cost mo. Yun lang po.
Okay. I think that's all for the question and answer. Let's proceed. Thank you very much, Engineers Bebelin Segovia, for reading the question, and Engineer Melissa for questioning our resource speaker. Ngayon, si Engineer Elvin naman ang magko-question sa mga estudyante.
Oo.
Joke lang, joke lang.
May
Joke lang yan.
ba?
And now, I will proceed to the, let's welcome Engineer Leo Gerardo Rojas, the UCU Head of Engineering and Architecture.
Hi, Sir Leo. Baka may
Good afternoon po, sir.
Engineer Leo, let's welcome for his special message. Take it away.
Good afternoon po, sir. Good afternoon to each and everyone. To our distinguished speaker, Engineer Elvin Pahutagana, in cooperation with PICE Qatar chapter, and also to our ever benevolent professor, Engineer Russell Flores. The University of Urdaneta City PICE student chapter would like to thank you for conducting such an insightful webinar on the construction project management. It will be a great help to our students during their studies or during their job search in the future. We are looking forward to attend more webinars and discussions from your well-acknowledged organization. Thank you. So yun lang po, sir, yung special message, sir.
Palakpakan muna, palakpakan. Thank you very much for the special message, Engineer Leo. At this moment,
Yes po, sir.
I would like to request Engineer Babylin to send the attendance form to the chat box, and please do the filling of the forms, attendees, and also PIC Qatar members, and all students also participants. Next, to awarding of certificate. Allow me to read the certificate of appreciation from Ordaneta City University College of Engineering and Architecture, Civil Engineering Department. Certificate of appreciation is presented to Engineer Elvin Pahutagana for sharing his expertise as a resource speaker during the webinar, Construction Project Management, It's About Time, in collaboration with PICE Qatar Chapter and Ordaneta City University through a Zoom meeting and Zoom webinar signed by Engineer Leo Gerardo Rojas, Civil Engineering Acting Program Head, and signed also by Engineer Lorena Angulo, MSME, Dean of College of Engineering and Architecture.
Thank you, Sir Rojas and Ma'am. Ano po yung ano yung kulang ng Pahutagana.
I-correct po natin yan, Engineer Elvin.
Yes.
Okay, allow me to read also from Ordaneta City University, College of Engineering and Architecture, Civil Engineering Department. Certificate of appreciation is presented to Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers Qatar Chapter for their invaluable support in hosting the webinar, Construction Project Management, It's About Time, through Zoom webinar on August 20, 2021, signed by Engineer Leo Gerardo Rojas, Civil Engineering Acting Program Head, Engineer Lorena Angulo, MSME, Dean of College of Engineering and Architecture. Thank you po. Thank you very much, Ordaneta City. On behalf of PICE Qatar, I will convey the greetings and thanks. Of course, the Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers also will be giving the award. Allow me to read the certificate of appreciation from Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers Qatar Chapter International Charter I-03 and Ordaneta City University College of Engineering and Architecture. Certificate of appreciation is hereby awarded to Engineer Elvin D. Pahutagana, MBA, BSc, PMP, and APM, PMCES, LPICE, LFPA, and MASCE in grateful acknowledgement of the invaluable service as a resource speaker during the conduct of the webinar Construction Project Management, It's About Time, held on 20th August 2021, given days 20th August 2021, signed by yours truly, the PIC Qatar COCPA Chairman and the Webinar Director. Signed also by the Secretary of the PIC Qatar Chapter, Engineer Dave Sanchez. Signed also by Engineer Rogel B. Banal, PIC Qatar Second Vice President. And lastly, signed by our very own PIC Qatar Chapter President, Engineer Mark Anthony P. Abendan.
Thank you. My pleasure. Haba nung ano, pwedeng
Next, allow me to welcome you. I mean, not welcoming. I will give you the floor to our PIC's Qatar Second Vice President, Engineer Rohel Banal for his closing remarks. Engineer Rohel,
Hello.
Engineer Roy?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Qatar. Good morning, Philippines. Good afternoon, Philippines. I believe that all of you have done well, safe, happy, and healthy. And hope you learn something to this very informative webinar presentation. I am grateful and delighted to be with you at this collaboration webinar with the Urdaneta City University. On behalf of PIC Qatar, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who participated, attended this interesting and informative presentation. I would like to thank also the personalities behind this successfully concluded webinar through the initiative of our friend and colleague, Engineer Russell Flores, an active member of PIC Qatar and a former board of director of our beloved chapter, as well as to Engineer Lorena Angulo, the Dean of College of Engineering and Architecture, to Engineer Leo Gerardo Roas, Acting Head of Engineering, and to our hardworking, energetic President, Engineer Mark Anthony Abendan, to the COPA team headed by Engineer Osport Acera, and of course, to our very own resources speaker,